Public higher education in the U.S. is dying on our watch. We are increasingly funding with revenues that come from private enterprise and on the backs of our debt-ridden students. So I want to make an argument that we have to make a case for public funding for higher education. And I want to suggest that we do that using the philosophies of open education, particularly the cornerstones of open access, open educational resources, and open pedagogy, to build this case for public higher ed. We'll start by talking about open access, which is just the basic idea that research, particularly research that's publicly funded, should not be paywalled. And by this we mean the public that paid for research. Don't clap, I don't have time. Should not have to pay twice to access that research. Open educational resources replace high-cost textbooks with free digital materials that are openly licensed to allow for sharing, revising, remixing. And these open licenses allow students and faculty to contribute to their learning materials, not just consume them, which opens this gateway to a broader open pedagogy. And I want to take a minute to talk about 4 different aspects of this emerging area of open pedagogy, starting with the idea that open pedagogy pushes past OER advocacy and textbook costs to access writ large. What are all of the access barriers that our students confront, and how can we make them visible and confront them at every turn? Second, open pedagogy encourages students to create domains of their own, not just online, but also in classrooms, and become true agents of their own educations. When we say learner-centered, we actually mean it. Open pedagogy also resists the transmission of static disciplinary content, which has a limited shelf life, and instead looks for collaborations and communities of practice to engage students in lifelong learning. And finally, open pedagogy sees the university as a connective node in a wider public, not a gate that excludes, but a way of bringing together sectors and stakeholders from the public marketplace of ideas. So the question will become, can this save public education? No, because I'm not talking about a divine intervention here. I'm talking about a mission with a strategy for articulating what it is that public higher education is all about, so we can do. Because my state institution is 9.5% funded by the state. So what do we mean when we say public university? I can't figure it out anymore. So what I want to do is figure out what we mean when we do public education so that we can build a case for public funding. One thing we could do is we could say, we openly license the work that comes out of our public universities and colleges, including coursework, curricula, but also committee work in every project that we engage in. We can take our OER advocacy into a broader access advocacy, talking about tuition costs, opportunity costs, loan costs, the whole gamut, living expenses, the real cost of college, right? What are the access issues that our students face across the digital divide and beyond? We can rethink our pedagogies so they connect our students with the publics to which they belong and the publics that belong to them. Because we can't save public education by privatizing it. We can't save public education by privatizing it. So the question becomes, how do we talk about this mission for public education? I think we know that public education is special and that it has value, but we haven't yet developed a vocabulary for talking about what that looks like on the ground and in practice. So what I'm suggesting is that we build a strategy harnessed around open education so that we can talk about what it means to do public education, to work in public and to work at public. What is public higher education? So I would argue that public higher education is higher ed that shares its work freely, higher ed that's affordable and accessible, and higher ed that connects with the wider public. And these are the basic principles of open access, OER, and open ped. But open education is not going to save public education because it's a process, not a panacea. So what I'm talking about here is actually just a way of articulating an access-driven mission and a symbiotic relationship between the public and the academic worlds it contains. But our time is running out. I truly believe this. We need to make a better case for public education, and we should make an inspiring and strategic case by thinking about how open education can help us increase our public support for higher ed.